Welcome, everyone, to the Garden Nerd Tip of the Week podcast, where garden nerds from around the world talk shop, share stories, and offer their favorite tip. I'm your host, Christy Wilhelmi. Today is Change of Pace Day. Garden nerds, just you and me. We'll be taking a break for the holidays, and we'll be back in January with exciting interviews with folks like permaculture guru Larry Santoyo, military veteran and farmer John Jackson, and many, many more. But for now, I want to take some time to share my year-end thoughts and some news from Gardenerd. First, the news. If you're a fan of my debut novel, Garden Variety, you'll be happy to hear that I've been working on the revisions for the sequel. Lizzie and the folks from Vistamar Gardens are back, and this time there's a murder to solve. I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's a mystery, I'm just saying there's a murder in it. And if all goes according to plan, I will send this to my agent after the new year. So stay tuned. Also, we've been hard at work on a new online course. This one guides you step by step through the process that I use with my clients and students to plan out the seasonal garden on paper or digitally if you want to. In fact, I taught this class for more than a decade, every spring and every fall, like twice a season. And the class was always limited to 8 people at a time because that's how many would fit at my table. So I'm excited to translate it into an online course to reach more garden nerds out there. It's a repeatable process. And you can use it every season to plan out your cool season or your warm and hot season every year, year after year. So we'll be launching that in 2024. So keep your eyes peeled for that announcement. I've got other irons in the fire that aren't really fleshed out yet, but I still want to share that with you anyway. I've been working with a friend to create a gardening show that I hope to pitch to PBS. It's centered around community gardens and those who grow in them. That's all I want to say for now, but I'm hopeful that we're going to move forward on it and that I'll have news to share in the near future. Stay tuned. And lastly, I want to plug my Patreon subscribers to thank them for their support. It's not something I've ever done before, and I realize I'm missing this opportunity to thank them publicly. So Paul, Sonia, Nancy, Sue, Nick, Brianna, Claire, Esty, Hillary and Dennis, and Leslie. I really enjoy our monthly private Zoom hangouts and all the great questions that you guys send in for expedited answers. So podcast listeners, if any of you out there want to join in the fun, go to patreon.com/gardenerd for more information. Okay, now on to the gardening stuff. This is the time of year for New Year's resolutions. And I think one of my New Year's resolutions that I choose probably every year, sometimes without success, is do less. I was reading Helen Attow's book, The Ecological Farm, which she was a podcast guest recently, and you should listen to it. And it all really boils down to growing, or I should say, allowing living roots to thrive on as much of your soil as possible. That to me means doing less. My yard is covered in volunteer arugula, New Zealand spinach, poppies, calendula, cilantro, and stinging nettles. They're prickly, but they're pretty and you can make food with them. My old self, though, would probably be pulling all of those and putting down mulch to keep weeds from growing. My aspirational self, however, wants to have more of that volunteer stuff taking over the yard. Do less. So what can you do to do less in your garden? What can we do to let nature do her thing without us? It's food for thought. People also tell me to reduce my client load and increase my fees, but I have trouble implementing that resolution. So maybe next year, maybe that'll happen. I don't know. All right, so seed catalogs are coming in. This is one I look forward to every year. December is that time when the seed catalogs start filling our mailboxes. And there's this potential for joy. I really love dog-earing pages for new varieties that I want to try. But of course, there never seems to be enough room for everything. So it's kind of hard to pick. But here are a few varieties that have caught my eye so far. It's Lila Lou carrots from High Mowing Seeds, or Lila Lou carrots from High Mowing Seeds. It's purple on the outside, orange on the inside. Anthocyanins, baby. Gotta grow those. I really love growing purple carrots. They're just so pretty in cooked dishes and raw and everything. There's another one also from High Mowing Seeds called Veriduna alba beets. They're white, so they won't stain your cutting board. Supposedly they're sweeter than most, which I always feel like beets taste like battery acid to me, but maybe you would like them. I grow them for my husband because he likes beets. So I want to include the white ones in with the mix because I do a lot of gourmet blend and yellow touchstone beets and Lutz, which are dark, dark, dark red beets. I'll put that all in the mix. All right. So one flower, Dark Night Scabiosa from Renee's Garden Seeds. It's this deep burgundy color that looks so good up against just about anything. I want to plant them in with my volunteer calendula for the complementary colors to play off one another. And of course, I couldn't do this without a tomato. Madeline's Gold tomato from Seed Savers Exchange. It's a new introduction, and I just love orange tomatoes. They just say sunshine to me. This one's from a grower in Tennessee, and it's versatile. So you can use it for sauces, for slicing, for canning. So that's kind of a nice one to have as an option if you want to do any or all of those things with your tomatoes. The last one is from Living Seed Company. It's called Who Gets Kissed Sweet Corn. I mean, come on, with a name like that, you have to try it. It's this bicolor sweet corn, so it has both white and yellow kernels on the same ear. And the thing about it, though, that I'm not sure if this is going to work for me, is that it does require at least a 6 by 6 foot block for adequate pollination. So I have 4 by 4 foot beds, so it might not, you might kind of have some stragglers on the end that don't fruit or that don't pollinate. But if you have an open space, I think this is one to try. So go for it. All right, it is tip time. Here in Southern California, we're experiencing another El Nino year, which means a lot more rain for us, hopefully, fingers crossed. And if that's the case, I want to encourage homeowners to get as many rain barrels as possible hooked up to their downspouts. Rainwater is honestly the best thing for your vegetable garden. It's got atmospheric nitrogen in it and so many other great things. And, we did a reel on Instagram a while back showing how we use a pump to move water from the rain barrels to all the distant parts of our garden, because my garden is uphill from my rain barrels. So you can't just use gravity unless I put it maybe on the roof, which I'm not doing. So a pump is hooked up to a hose and makes it really easy to run the water to all parts of the garden. So if you set it up right, you can water with rainwater all season long. And it's worth mentioning that during the dry season, we actually keep a couple of rain barrels full of water in case there's an emergency, earthquakes, I'm talking to you. So make water harvesting and storage part of your New Year's resolution and your safety plan for, resilience in an emergency. It's only getting drier out there, and in many parts of the country, not just here, it's happening everywhere. So water harvesting is going to play a really big role in our future. So check that out. All right, garden nerds, thanks for listening. And thank you so much for supporting the Garden Nerd Tip of the Week podcast for all of these years. That's it for this week. Subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. Visit us for tons of free gardening information at Gardenerd.com. Show your support for this podcast and the other free stuff at Garden Nerd by becoming a Patreon subscriber. You'll find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter under Garden Nerd 1, on Facebook as Gardenerd.com, and of course, our Garden Nerd YouTube channel. Happy gardening, happy holidays, and happy new year.